let's get into some headlines from across the state. So it's May. It's mid-May.
It's gonna be May. This is revenge from putting me in that stinking group text. Like, just you two text. I don't need to be a part of this.
It's mid-May, and yet there are there's major movement across the state of Texas in the college ranks and in the high school ranks. Of course, we talked, if you missed it, we already talked on Friday about the big news out of Allen that Chad Morris has stepped down after a single season. There's a great piece up on TexasFootball.com from Matt Stepp about why it didn't work for Chad Morris at Allen. I also would make the argument that I don't know that it didn't work. They didn't make the regional final.
Yeah.
But I think that the standard there is so high that
when you blow two different streaks, that
for sure.
That
for
hurts.
sure. It was always going to be championship or bust, or at least play for a championship.
And they still would have been mad about the streaks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we do have some other news and notes from across the state. Let's start with the news that came down late last week, and that is that North Texas might have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
And that is Grant Cannell. Grant Cannell is transferring from Memphis, and he is going to transfer to North Texas. He, of course, started at Arizona. Is that right?
Yeah, he started at Arizona, transferred to Memphis. Got beat out.
Took a redshirt year in 2021 because he got beat out by Seth Hennigan, Denton Ryan's own. And now he's going to transfer to North Texas. He has 3 years of eligibility left. This is a guy who is one of the most prolific passers in Texas high school football history. What he did at Houston St. Pius X was pretty remarkable. There's never been any issue about his arm talent. He just hasn't found the right fit. Now, I do think this is interesting because you may remember a few weeks ago we did a segment called "Hey, who's going to play quarterback in college football in Texas in 2022?"
Yeah.
And we talked about it in North Texas how it was kind of a battle royale. There were a bunch of different guys that it could be. They had the two incumbents in Austin Aune and Jace Reuter. They had two more guys who were brought in J.D. Head and a guy who I can't
even remember who the fourth person was.
Well, now here comes Cannell. I'll be honest. That makes me think that Luttrell and the staff did not feel comfortable going in with any of those options.
That to me is we finished up spring ball and looked around the quarterback room and said,
didn't love it.
Crap, we've got to find something.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yep.
I think that they looked around the quarterback room and didn't like what they saw, at least going into the year, and they said, we got to get into the transfer market. And so for them to go and land Grant Cannell is impressive. Now, look, this is a guy who when he started 3 times as a true freshman at Arizona, was pretty good, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Overall in 8 games, but he had 3 starts. He was the starter in the pandemic-shortened 2020 season as well. Then he goes to Memphis and redshirts. I think you have to consider him, just based on the context of all of this, you have to consider him the front runner to be the quarterback for North Texas going into 2022. So
I would be mind-blown.
I would be pretty shocked if he wasn't the guy. So North Texas quarterback Grant Cannell is a thing as he transfers from Memphis.
Cool.
Speaking of quarterbacks transferring, we should probably close the loop on this. Remember Gary Bohannon?
He did that thing.
Gary Bohannon, of course, was the quarterback of the Big 12 champion Baylor Bears. Battled through injuries, battled through a little bit of inconsistency when the transfer portal, when it became pretty clear that he wasn't going to be. In fact, he got beat out for the job there by Blake Shapen there at Baylor. He's landed at South Florida. South Florida is where he has transferred, so congratulations to Gary. We certainly wish him the very best. Also, in the outgoing role, and this is something that I had to, and maybe this is off your radar. This was something that I was putting together the page this week for the magazine. It's 2022 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football for the Southwest Junior College Football Conference, SWJCFC.
Let's go.
Okay, and I had emailed Tyler Junior College and requested a photo for to run on the page. We didn't have any photos of Tyler Junior College. I wanted a photo of their quarterback, former Allen quarterback, General Booty. General Booty had been fantastic at Tyler Junior College, and had really kind of revitalized his career. So much so that he is now transferring to OU. Yeah. He's transferring to Oklahoma, and so thanks a lot. Now I got to redesign that page. No,
Darn you, General Booty.
Yeah, congratulations to General Booty, who is transferring from Tyler Junior College to Oklahoma. One thing to keep an eye on in the college football ranks, and we'll finish it all out with at the end after we do some high school stuff with a segment I call Nick Saban said a funny thing. But
a lot of new segments today.
A lot of new segments. I'm all in one. This is the NCAA Oversight Committee got together, and we talked a little bit about this, about how they want to put together some NIL restrictions. They want to find out some things that they can do here. And one of the things that the NCAA Oversight Committee has recommended is the idea of removing the requirement for divisions in classifications in conferences rather with 12 or more teams. Right now, if you have 12 or more teams, you have to divide into divisions.
Yeah, you have an East and a West.
You have an East and a West, or a North and a South, or you have something, right? In Conference USA, for example, you have East and West.
It's East-West,
SEC, they have East and West, right? Pac-12, they have North and South. Big Ten, they have Legends and Leaders. I always thought that was funny. They are looking into. They want to make it so that the provision would allow conferences to pit their top two teams from the regular season against each other in the conference championship game. Basically, one of the reasons they want to do this is what happened in the Big Ten. You may remember that the Big Ten championship game was Michigan versus Iowa. Mm-hmm. Michigan versus Iowa, even though pretty clearly the two best teams in the Big Ten last year were Michigan and Ohio State.
Yep.
But Michigan beat Ohio State to win their conference or win their division. Iowa won the West Division, I believe it was, and so as a result, they got to go to Detroit and play in the conference, the Big Ten championship game. I think that they want to avoid that. They want to find a way to avoid that, and so that would certainly shake things up.
Yeah.
Because I know that, for example, with now a 16-team SEC coming, I wonder if you're going to have quadrants.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're going to have, as our friend Bill Conley at ESPN calls it, pods. He always wanted to have pods of 4 and stuff. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but they have recommended that you're able to ditch the divisional setup in college football if you are so inclined. Some high school news from across the state. A lot of coaching changes closing the loop, so to speak, including, let me tell you right now, there are, according to TexasFootball.com, there are 23 open UIL 11-man jobs right now. 23, which is pretty big.
Lot for May 16th.
But yeah, there's gonna be some that we go to the magazine, go to Pressman Magazine, and say open. One of those that won't be open is Little Elm. Little Elm has created an opening elsewhere, and that's at North Garland, because they have hired Joe Castillo to be their next head coach there at North Garland, or rather at Little Elm. Joe Castillo is a Garland native. He's a graduate of North Garland, so he is leaving his alma mater. He spent the past 10 seasons there, and the record is not going to be particularly remarkable, but keep in mind, he took over a program there at North Garland that was not just the worst program in Garland ISD. They were the worst program in Garland ISD by a considerable margin. He helped take them to the playoffs. He helped do things that had been previously unheard of. He did back-to-back. In 2018-2019, they had back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since 1999 and 2000. Castillo is also, before that he was at San Antonio Burbank. He's the vice president of the Hispanic Texas High School Coaches Association. He's taking over at Little Elm to be their next head coach. Elsewhere in the high school ranks, Montgomery, one thing that you're going to see this late in the game is you're going to have a lot of internal promotions. John Bolfing announced his retirement after 17 seasons. They have promoted their offensive coordinator, Grant Cooper, to be the next head coach there.
Did his son... Was his son a senior this year?
He was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Alvarado makes a splash hire. Alvarado has gone and created another opening at Cleburne. They have hired Casey Walraven to be the next head coach at Alvarado. Casey Walraven isn't an Alvarado alum, so he gets to go home and coach his alma mater, which is pretty special.
That's like some crosstown rivalry right there too.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
That's a little bit of Sonny Dykes moving over to TCU.
But congratulations to Coach Walraven, who gets to go home and coach his alma mater. Pretty special there. Another one. This one kind of came out of nowhere. So James Polk was the head coach at Gainesville for 6 seasons. They went 8-3 in 2019, which was his best year. He's leaving to go join the staff at Weatherford. They have named the head coach in Killeen coach Neil Searcy. Neil Searcy is the head coach of the Killeen Kangaroos. Now he's going to be the head coach of the Gainesville Leopards. He is a GHS alum, so he gets to go home as well. But Neil Searcy is going to be the next head coach there at Gainesville. Giddings has promoted from within. Giddings has promoted their offensive coordinator Mike Adams, or Mike Adams, to be the next head coach. Giddings promotes their offensive coordinator Mike Adams. George Ranch does the same. They promote their offensive coordinator Wade Oliphant. Wade Oliphant has a history. He is a Lamarck I'm sorry. Is that right? No, I've got that wrong. Lamarck has hired George Ranch offensive coordinator Wade Oliphant, who is he is a Lamarck grad, so he gets to go home as well, but he was the George Ranch offensive coordinator. Lamarck has hired Wade Oliphant to replace Sean Evans, who you remember was hired to be the next head coach at Texas City. There's this whole thing of Texas City and Lamarck are anyway, it's a whole thing. Elsewhere, remember the Childress thing? Mm-hmm. Where Jason Sims kind of got a raw deal in our editorial opinion.
Yeah, humble opinion. He got a wrongful boot.
They promoted their defensive coordinator, Bo Helm, to be the next head coach there at Childress. Bo Helm, the next head coach there at Childress. Corsicana Mildred has made a hire. They have promoted their defensive coordinator, Jeff Callahan, to replace Duke Dalton, who moved into a new role there at Mildred ISD. And finally, Pattonville Prairieland, has made a hire. The Patriots. Heath Blaylock is out after 2 seasons to join the staff over at Gilmer Harmony. They have hired Herb Smith, the Paris offensive coordinator, to be the next head coach there at Prairieland. Those are some high school coaching news and notes. We are going to be recording a new episode of Tep and Step today, so that should be in your feed tonight as soon as I get done editing it. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. We'll talk about that.
I like the name Herb.
And finally, Pickle, it's time for a segment I like to call...
Nick
Saban said something funny. So Nick Saban, perhaps you're aware, is the head coach of the Alabama Crimson
that
Tide.
Guy.
Yes. This is Nick Saban was on the Paul Feinbaum show. Mm-hmm. Our friend Paul. I've been on Paul's show a couple times.
Yeah.
The headline: Alabama Saban calls for more parity in football. The Crimson Tide's Nick Saban tells the Paul Feinbaum show that he'd like to see a return to the days of a more level playing field in college football.
Coach, I wonder who's setting that narrative.
Wonder whose fault that is. So there you go. Nick Saban said
irony.
said something funny. He wants more parity. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we...
That would be like us saying something about there should be less bits in podcasts.
You know
like,
what?
There's the equivalent.
I think every internet show needs to be very serious.
Yes.
Like, we need to take it very seriously.
No bits.
I think well prepared.
Yes.
Otherwise, very disappointing.
Yeah, it would be terrible. Could you imagine a world?
I don't want to.
I don't want to.
Anyway.
It feels like a sin.
Thanks for the laugh, Coach David.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.